Hello, and continuing my theme of Charles and Diana, I'd now like to explain one or two things which many people would seem are unaware of. And above all, one of the great mysteries for most people is, why did Charles and Diana get married? Now, in 1981, I couldn't understand it. The wedding was announced in February of 81. Incidentally, the same month that a coup d'etat happened in Spain, an attempted coup d'etat, and that shows really how long ago it was, a different age in many ways. I couldn't understand why the heir to the throne, who was then aged 32, and for me at the age I was then, seemed like a very old person indeed, he was marrying a girl who was aged 19, a few months older than me, who I then would have considered to have been far too young for me. I wouldn't consider that any longer, but it didn't make sense. Another thing that didn't make sense to me was this huge difference in personality. The difference in education. But for Diana, despite the fact that she came from an extremely wealthy and privileged background, she did a finishing school in Switzerland. She finished up with next to no qualifications whatsoever. And even I, in my then naivety, knew that a person who was interested in talking to plants and wandering around the countryside and making comments about architecture, as Charles already did, wouldn't really get on with somebody who was a bit like Diana, who we couldn't really understand what was it she interested in. She certainly didn't seem to have any academic interest whatsoever. I remember a joke which appeared in Private Eye, and this was several years into their marriage, and Charles was saying, "Well, Diana, what's wrong? I mean, I can't understand, there doesn't seem any communication with us. Is there somebody else?" And she said, "Yes, there is. It's Michael Jackson." Because she was spending all the time listening to disco music. But there's no mystery, because it's very, very clear. It's very clear because of the law and tradition. The law, which is governed by 3 Acts of Parliament from the 18th century, which quite clearly states that the monarch has to be of a certain religion, as does his spouse, which is he has to be a Protestant, submitting to the Church of England, at the same time as believing in the Holy Trinity, which sort of limits many people. So that's point one. Point two, that's the law. Point two and point three are really more not on the law but on tradition. On tradition, we have that the spouse in this case should be of an aristocratic background. And in point three, which really did prove to be the stumbling block, no doubt, the person had to be sexually innocent. And it wasn't so much that this was a marriage made in heaven, as there being nobody else. So maybe it was made in heaven. Charles really didn't have much choice. I can sort of imagine the day that somebody found Diana and said, "Eureka, I have found a person for you. This girl fits the bill." And that's why they ended up getting married. Charles had his duty to do. He had to produce an heir. I mean, trying to find a wife for him, as one comedy program at the time put it, it was a bit like a national sport. He was linked to Astrid of Luxembourg, couldn't marry her, she was a Catholic. And that's because she changed her religion. He didn't have much choice in the matter. And whereas his brother, Edward, when he married Sarah Ferguson, did have a choice, and she didn't fit the bill, she didn't fit the last point, so I'm told, I don't know myself, but Charles had no choice. And that's why they got married. And unfortunately, and this is the tragedy, nobody told Diana. And what happened, happened. And had somebody given Diana a warning beforehand, then perhaps the tragedy that of this marriage and all it is encompassed, because the British people, not just the British people, everybody, it seems, is blaming Charles. And to a large extent it was his fault. But he did what was expected of him. And Diana didn't, because she didn't know, and she thought something else. So that's the reason why. Next time I'm going to look at why Charles has to be the next monarch.